right, my friends, welcome back. This is going to be part 83 of my presentation on the flood and Noah's Ark. And for those of you that saw my previous video, I was actually recording that one in our motorhome. We were taking our motorhome out. We're in this is kind of off-season traveling for us. We travel in the cooler months, and so, but I do like to exercise that motorhome because it'll sit, if not, it'll sit for months, sometimes 5 or 6 months. It'll sit before we take it out again. And so I will always start that engine up at least once a week, and then I run the generator once a month, and then I'll usually what I'll do is I'll turn on the air conditioner and have a pull on that generator and make it work. And but I do things to it, maintain it. But I keep our motorhome under a three-walled carport, and that protects it against the elements. And but I baby that thing because it's our home away from home, and we have some pretty neat adventures in that thing. And but we stay just in North Carolina. We're not multi-state travelers, and we enjoy what we have here. Here in North Carolina, we have the mountains, we have the foothills, and we have the beach. We have the coast, and so we've got everything we need here. And so if we want to go to a mountain environment, we can go to a mountain environment. If we don't want the mountain environment, we'll stay here pretty much in the Piedmont section. And then if we want to go to the coast, to the beach, well, we go to the beach. And so we have a really, there's favorite places we like to go. Usually Carolina Beach, Mount Airy, North Carolina, and Lake Norman. If that's all we did is just go to those three places, I would be just as happy. And that's our favorite places to go. And so, but at any rate, we're going to continue on here. This is going to be the last video concerning the Mammoths. And if you've missed any of the previous ones, just check them out. And I've got several of them for the Mammoths. And we're going to be rounding up the Ice Age here within the next several videos. And then we're going to move on to the next topic. But the whole Ice Age, again, the whole Ice Age topic usually is brought up when you talk about the flood, mainly because it happens at the end of the flood. And there's a debate when did it happen at the end of the flood? Was it at the end of the flood, or did it happen at the beginning of the flood? And so you're looking at about a year's difference between the two, and that's just between creationists. When you get into the evolutionary side or the uniformitarian side of it, they say there's as many as 30 ice ages, and there's about 60 theories concerning the Ice Age. And so, I mean, it's extremely confusing because they take God out of it. If they put God into it, it wouldn't be so confusing. And so, but we're going to continue on here with the Mammoths. And what we're doing is we're looking at little theories here and there on what they believe that killed off the Mammoths. And so we looked at Wrangel Island. And of course, they were trapped on Wrangel Island when the meltback happened on the Ice Age, where the waters arose, and the ones that were on Wrangel Island were trapped there. And so, and they died off just because they believe they died off because of what they called a population bottleneck, which there wasn't a lot of genetic diversity. And so any type of mutations that would have been there in that population of mammoths wouldn't have been able to filter out if you would have had a much larger population. So those mutations got to build up in a smaller population of mammoths, and they think that is what contributed to their deaths. And so, but at any rate, and as a whole here, the last few videos that we've had on this mammoths, we're basically looking at, was it genetics, man, or environment that killed off the mammoths? And so we looked at the environment before, that as far as quick freeze and stuff like that. When did the mammoths die off? And again, there's a debate on that. Some creationists say that they all died off that at the flood, and they froze then when the Ice Age started. And then there's others like Michael Ord that said no, yes, there were mammoths alive, at the flood, but then when they got off the ark, the mammoth population, well, at least Michael Ord is stating that yes, mammoths died off at the flood, but then after when they got off the ark, the mammoth population that built up were made to go extinct right at the end of the ice age. And then he gives you reasons on that. And so, not to rehash a lot of that, if you guys just want to check out the previous videos. And so, but in this one here, if you'll notice on the screen here, check out the last sentence there. The last sentence there, the third one going down. It says, other research stated that it was not genetics, that was what we talked about in the last couple videos, but human or environmental factors that killed off healthy animals. They said that they were healthy animals. And so now this is 3,905 miles from Wrangel Island. So they found a whole bunch of mammoth remains were found. And it says here, over the years since 1874, tons and tons of bones have been trawled by fishermen in their nets. He reiterated, between 1997 and 2003, we weighed the mammoth bones 57 tons. Wow. Not including 8,000 mammoth molars of woolly mammoths. The southern bight of the North Sea between the British Islands and the Netherlands is very rich in Pleistocene, that's Ice Age. Anytime you hear that, just think of the Ice Age. Mammal remains. It is a real treasure trove. And so I got to admit, that's a lot. I would love to have a mammoth tusk or even a mammoth molar if I could get one. Another article stated, the abundance of the last molars, the M3 and like little M3, I don't know, you guys that are into dental hygienics or know a lot about dental teeth and stuff like that, you guys should be able to make heads or tails out of that. I'm assuming that M means molar. I'm not sure, but then you have a little one. And so maybe the 3 means how far, which one it goes back. But anyway, also reveals that the animals were attaining advanced ages, suggesting good health and therefore suggest the presence of good environmental conditions. And this right here is Wrangel Island. And so that one is, what did it say? 3,905 miles from that one, from that location there. And so right here it says, a graveyard of about 160 woolly mammoth in Siberia revealed that 42% had destructive bone disease due to mineral deficiency. This is caused by strong acidification of the environment, as occurs in a wetland. The disease often takes place in acidic landscapes of swamps, taiga, tundra. Diseased animals are also found in many other woolly mammoth graveyards in northern Eurasia. Thus, the increase in swamps caused the diseases before the animals died. Now, if you'll notice that little note that I have right there on the bottom, have you ever heard of, I've always been told that elephants have graveyards. They have a certain place that they walk to and they just die. And amongst other bones of other elephants that went somewhere and died, do elephant graveyards actually exist? And so what I found out is that elephants, if you read that note down there, elephants do not have graveyards. They travel in order to die. They don't have somewhere that they go to die where you'll find tons and tons of bones at. Studies have shown that graveyards often resulted from a family of elephants drinking from water holes that were too salty or poisoned by natural causes. So a whole family of elephants would just die, pretty much all at the same time, or within a certain time of each other. And so that was the reason why they found so many bones, I guess, in a certain location. Now, that pretty much, guys, is the bulk of the evidence or information that I have on the mammoths. But I'll tell you one thing right now: the only way that they're truly going to be able to understand aspects about the mammoth is if they study a live one. And do you know what? They are trying to do that. They are trying to resurrect the mammoths. They're trying to clone a mammoth. And this information right here is quite interesting. It said, while there are still practical hurdles to overcome, it's no longer looking like science fiction. Gene editing technologies already exist with the power to tweak the genes of an already extremely similar species, the Asian elephant. The concept is to use an elephant's egg to create the embryo. By inserting such modified elephant DNA, in effect mammoth DNA, into its nucleus, using Asian elephant's DNA to make up the missing DNA bits of the mammoth DNA. The embryo would then be implanted into a female elephant to carry to term. It's possible that the remaining logistic difficulties will be overcome within a few years. And this information that I got on that right there was in 2023. So we're already a few years after that information. So I wonder just how close they've gotten. The end result would be a hybrid, a mammothont. They are wanting to put this hybrid into a park named Pleistocene Park in northeast Siberia, which is an experiment to rewild the area, which is supposedly 7.5 square miles, with large animals to change the wetland back into a grassland. The hope of the mammothont can withstand the cold better than an Asian elephant. Creation scientist Michael Ord believes that this will not work, mainly due to presuppositions that man was the cause of the mammoth extinction. There is little evidence to support that theory. What they're wanting to do is they're wanting to clone one of these with one of these. I think this is an Asian elephant. I think that's what this is. And so I don't know if I have any other elephants. I think this is going to be it. Yeah, this is going to be I'm pretty sure this is an Asian elephant. At any rate, they're wanting to clone one of these using one of these. Now, let me test y'all's knowledge here. For that to happen, what would these animals have to be? They would have to be what? The same kind. The same kind of animal. They have the same kind of animal. What you have here is two different species. Now, it's said right here that the result would be a hybrid. Now, a hybrid is two different species that reproduce, and they create different animals. And so, not say different animal, they create, it's the same kind of animal, but the two species come together, like a lion and a tiger. When a lion and a tiger come together, they create what's called a liger. And so these cats are huge. I mean, they are gigantic, ginormous cats. That is a hybrid. That is two different species of the same kind coming together to reproduce. Now, talking about the mammoths, Dr. Walt Brown, this right here came from his PDF book, In the Beginning. It's the 8th edition, guys. It's not the 9th edition. I may have said 9th edition several times, but it's actually the 8th edition. And so, but you can go online. I'll have a link in the description below for my YouTubers and Rumble people, and for my Facebook people, look into the description above, and you guys can go straight to this book and I believe you can look at it for free online. And so I didn't go in depth on looking at it, looking through it, but I looked at several pages of it online. It looks like he offers it online for free. I don't know if it's downloadable though. If it is, then hey, that's an extra perk because I did pay for mine, and which I didn't mind doing, but I did want a copy for myself to have it in my files. Outstanding book, outstanding book. Even though him and Michael Ord may differ on the Mammoths, it's an outstanding book. An outstanding book. I would highly advise you guys to get that. But again, he believes the Mammoths died off at the beginning of the flood, and then that's when they froze. Now, and he doesn't believe that they were built for the cold. Michael Ord, with another view, he believes that that there was a 500 years of accumulation at the end of the flood, and that there was a 200 years of meltback, and that the Mammoths died off sometime during that 200 years of meltback. And something happened, something catastrophic happened, which could have been dust storms. And so that's what they believe. And plus, with the meltback and trapping these animals on Wrangel Island and stuff like that. Now, if you look at that chart there, that's on top of Walt Brown's chart. What he says is that at the end of the flood, the ice age began, and that the woolly mammoth population was into the millions, and that right at the end of the ice age, which would have been the 700 years, 500 years of accumulation, 200 years of meltback, that's when they died off. That's when they became extinct. And so because of those, which could be possibly the dust storms, And so, but at any rate, for you guys that want to learn more, let me point you to Frozen in Time by Michael Ord. Outstanding book. And the In the Beginning PDF format, absolutely amazing. If you want to get information on the Mammoths itself, as far as In the Beginning, you want to go start at pages 250 to 283. And this is the PDF version of that. And guys, go for the 8th edition. Get you something that has been updated. That's the one I would go with. Outstanding, absolutely outstanding. But were they built for the cold? Michael Ord says absolutely, and Walt Brown says absolutely not. So, but it doesn't matter. They're both great books. I highly advise you guys. Anything by Michael Ord, you are going to really learn something, because he pretty much centers just about, as far as I know, all of his research on the ice age and stuff, any type of topics about that. But he's a weatherman, and so he knows what he's talking about. And so now, and also this other book that I mentioned, Genetic Entropy and the Mystery of the Genome by Dr. J.C. Sanford. You guys want to check this out. Well, I mentioned this book in my last video, and Dr. Sanford, along with some other geneticists, he says that we are degenerating. We are degenerating as a population, humans. And if we were going to be on this planet for any more than what the biblical timeline puts us, then we would go extinct. We would definitely go extinct, because we are building up mutations in our cells and stuff, and we are degenerating. Each generation that is born is worse off genetically than the previous generation. And I'm going to add to that, we're worse off morally too. I'll add that one in. But that's what that word means. Genetic entropy means genetic degeneration and the mystery of the genome. I have this book. It is a scary book. It is not an encouraging book at all, guys. It's not encouraging. And so, but we are degenerating. Our whole, it's like everything on the planet is winding down. The scriptures had it perfect. It's all winding down like a clock. We'll stop right there. And when we come back, we are going to get into some more Ice Age topics. And I ain't got just but a few more topics left. And I'm not sure how many videos we'll have, several more, but just some interesting stuff. And I think next time we have the La Brea Tar Pits. We're going to talk about the La Brea Tar Pits. And so now some of this stuff, guys, I'm just going to mention what are they? What are they? What are they about? And not necessarily to prove anything biblical. Some may have some stuff that I'll throw in that will have some stuff to prove biblically, but some of it may just be. I'm just going to give you the some information on it about it, so that way you'll say, okay, what is the La Brea Tar Pits? When I got to studying the La Brea Tar Pits, I didn't know much about them at all, and so now I've got a good understanding, at least a basic understanding on it, at least for my knowledge. And so if anybody was to ask about them, I'd say, oh, yeah, this is what this is. And so, but we're going to learn about that, the history behind it, and using both secular and creation sources. And then after that, we're going to be looking at the Lost Squadron. The Lost Squadron. We're going to be looking at that next after that video. And so, but I think the La Brea Tar Pits should only take but just one video. We'll be done with that one, and then we'll get into the Lost Squadron. Fascinating stuff I found out about the Lost Squadron. And so, but anyhow, guys, you guys take care. I love you, and I hope the Lord blesses you real good. Bye-bye.